The Objective News Network. Is Donald Trump a criminal or a gamesman? Hello, everybody. This is John Hnatio for the Objective News Network with an editorial opinion. Letitia James, a Democrat prosecutor from the Democrat city of New York, has put former Republican President Donald Trump in a Democrat New York courtroom before a Democrat judge to try and defend himself from what the former president believes is just being a successful businessman. The prosecution contends over and over again that nobody is above the law and that the former president hurt others by intentionally lying about the valuation of his various properties to bolster his claims of net worth. America has always tolerated and, in fact, encouraged competition in the free marketplace as the best way to make money. That when it is consolidated together becomes capital to invest in future developments to make more money, which in turn produce new capital to make further investments. It's a cycle called the money, capital, money, or MCM cycle. We have historically encouraged people in business to find and exploit loopholes. In business, it's called being efficient. It's called being shrewd. It's called being clever, regardless of what your political persuasion is. John D. Rockefeller, Andrew Carnegie, Cornelius Vanderbilt, Bill Gates, Sam Walton, Warren Buffett, and even Jeff Bezos, and the list goes on and on. All of us know that business, especially when it comes to high rollers like these guys, can be pretty ruthless. There are lots of businessmen out there who play fast and loose with the facts when it comes to making their businesses thrive. And there are lots of people out there who become quite liberal with the rules when it comes to paying their taxes. This is the simple reality of human nature. Now, to control this type of behavior, we have created the big government, who we rely on to make and enforce the rules, if they don't already exist, to close loopholes. In the case of the civil lawsuit against Donald Trump, it is the banks and their underwriters that are really responsible for certifying any real values of property that are used to leverage or underwrite loans. In the case of former President Trump, the only question really is this: why did the banks move forward in the face of what they themselves knew were clearly inflated valuations? It's really not that hard to figure out if you think about it. It's because the banks want to make money too. That's why there is a clear statement at the bottom of the financial documents that former President Trump has been accused of fraudulently using for personal gain, that states such documents are not, that's right, not to be trusted unless they have been independently certified. In the case of the civil suit against former President Trump, the real truth is that just like all good capitalists who both want to make money, both the former president and the banks themselves made sure there was a loophole to do business. The true facts are that it is the banks that are supposed to be held accountable by government agencies like the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, the Federal Reserve, and others for assuring that banks and underwriters do their proper due diligence, not the businessman. All of this reminds me of an old book I once read called The Gamesman that was written by a gentleman named James Maccabee. Maccabee describes three types of personalities in the business world out there. One is the corporate man who goes along to get along, even when it means playing fast and loose with the facts. He's the kind of guy who does what the boss tells him to do, even when it means violating ethical standards. The second type of fellow is the jungle fighter, who is willing to lie, cheat, steal, hurt, and otherwise do bad things on his way all the way to the top of the organization. Now, the jungle fighter usually climbs right over the backs of the company man, and he usually doesn't last long because he makes so many enemies. And then there's the gamesman. This is the type of guy who is smarter than the rest. He looks at everything like a game that's just out there waiting to be won. He does what he does to win the game using his brains, his charm, and yes, sometimes playing fast and loose with the facts. But the gamesman knows that the game must go on, so he tries his best to operate in ways that don't come back to hurt his game. Things like the outright fraud and lying in the business game are not on the playlist. Instead, he, as a shrewd and successful businessman, always finds a loophole. It's no surprise that a gamesman, like former President Trump, more often than not makes his way to the very top and tends to stay there because he has developed a group of loyal followers. In this case, President Trump has denied wrongdoing, arguing in sworn testimony in the case that it didn't matter what he put on his financial statements because they have a disclaimer right there that says they shouldn't be trusted. As former President Trump has said, and I quote, "Do you know the banks were fully paid? Do you know the banks made a lot of money? Do you know I didn't believe I ever got even a default notice, and even during COVID. The banks were all paid, and yet you're suing me on behalf of banks, I guess. It's crazy. The whole case is crazy." Close quote. The president's argument, made as a good capitalist and a businessman, is that if you don't like the loopholes, then it's your job, Mr. Government, to go out there and fix them. The government, including the courts, shouldn't be prosecuting cases like the one against the former president. In President Trump's mind, it crosses the line between government persecution, the notion of laissez-faire, which means hands off as far as the government is concerned in most everything involving commerce, and creating a special system of justice just for Mr. Trump, all with the political motivation to prevent him from becoming the next president of the United States. Besides, if you held people like Bill Gates, Jamie Dimon, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all the other gamesmen out there to the same standard of justice that the system is attempting to apply to Donald Trump, you'd end up with only two things: a socialist state and no new capital to invest in all of our own futures. No, this time it could appear to some that former President Donald Trump may be, this time, the victim of a politically weaponized justice system that is selectively applying justice to one and not the other. This is John Hnatio. Thanks for watching, and please tell your family, friends, and colleagues, and your followers about us. And please subscribe. See you the next time.